Welcome to Empowered Freedom. We're going to do some mobility training today. So you're going to find your way onto your seat to begin. So I've got a wall behind me, so I'm just going to kind of scooch up against the wall just to help the spine find length. But if you want to sit away from the wall to start, that's totally fine as well. I just want you to get comfortable. We're going to start off with just a little bit of breath. So you can have your legs crossed or out in front of you, whatever helps you to feel tall and upright. There's no wrong position to be in, as long as you feel like you're able to sit and kind of sustain for a little bit of time. So I'll invite you to close down your eyes and let there be a softening in your shoulders. And the softening in your shoulders start to expand. So you feel a softening down the length of your spine and into your hips. So even though you're sitting tall, you're not rigid. You're able to almost feel like you're floating in this seated posture. And then let there be a softening in the face, in between the eyebrows, the jaw, the teeth, the tongue. And let your attention now be drawn to your breath. So one of the many benefits of having flexibility and mobility in our body is to be able to cultivate a tall, upright posture. All right, so if we have limited mobility in our shoulders, or we have, a lack of flexibility in our hips, it can cause a rounding of the spine. It can cause a lot of different situations where we're not getting a full breath because we're not able to sit tall. So just notice for yourself as you sit in this upright posture, are you able to feel that your breath is moving into not just your chest and down to your belly, but can you feel your breath in the sides of your body, your ribs, and the back of your body? So really opening up to a 360-degree breath. Expanding in all directions as you inhale. And letting your whole body soften as you exhale. So this practice is mobility training. We do some end range, working with our tissues in different end ranges. Some of the movements that we'll be going into, I'm going to give you a little forewarning. It probably won't be the most joyful practice. Doesn't feel super yummy at the time, but like a lot of things, being uncomfortable, we can grow from those spaces. So just know that as we move into some of the different movements and postures and mobility exercises, the intention isn't so much to feel good, it's to move in a way that you're really connected to the different tissues and how your body moves. So just take one more breath here, all the way in, and a full breath all the way out. Beautiful. You can blink your eyes open. If you've been sitting up against a wall, scoot yourself a little bit further away from the wall. You can still sit up on a blanket or just give yourself some elevation. If you've been cross-legged for a little while, you can switch the cross of your legs to just sit a little bit different with your legs. We're going to move into what's called controlled articular rotations, where we move a joint in all of its range. So we're going to start with the neck. So start by bringing your chin in towards your chest as much as it can. So we want to go end range, not to the point where you're in pain, but to the point where if you went any further, you'd be in pain. So you got to know for yourself where your end range is. And then start to glide your chin over towards your right shoulder as far as it can go. And then start to lift your chin up. And again, this is probably not going to be the most comfortable movement, but no pain. And then you're going to draw a line with your chin across over to the left side. And then slowly bring the chin towards the left shoulder. And then draw a line with your chin down towards your chest. We're going to do that 2 more times. So a full circle going to your end range. End range means that you're putting your tissues and your joints in its full range of motion without going past it. So it's that sweet spot. So one more full circle with the neck this direction. And then you're going to go the other way and try to go your full range. You might be hearing some different sounds in the back of your neck and different parts of your cervical spine kind of making some noise, and that's really normal, very common. Finish the circle that you're on. You want to go nice and slow so you can really feel into that end range. Good. And then eventually, once that's complete, you can bring your head up to neutral. Take your arms out wide with your palms facing up. So this is external rotation. Think about your palms, or your thumbs rather, pointing to the wall behind you, and then almost so much so that your palms, were turning back as well. So going into your fullest external rotation. And then you're going to go the opposite. Your palms will face forward and then down. And then if you can, point them back, and almost like you're trying to turn your palms up, internal rotation. We're going to do that a couple of times. Go to your full range. So slowly turn your palms back up, and then think about turning your palms backwards in space. Try to keep it out of your spine. It's just your shoulders moving. And then flip the other way, turn the palms back, and then almost like you're trying to reach the palms up, internal rotation. One more time each way. Again, it might not feel super good, but no pain. Slightly uncomfortable, yes, but not to the point of, you're holding your breath or feeling, those sharp electrical sensations. That's what we want to avoid. Okay, once you've done your 3, just let your arms come down for a second. Give yourself a little bit of a wiggle out. We're going to move into our wrist. So you're going to take hold of your forearm with your left hand on your right forearm, and then make a nice spread of your fingers. Turn your palm to face your face. So you're looking at the palm of your hand, and then roll your hand so your pinky finger moves to the left, and then bring your fingers down so your palm faces now forward, and then your thumb moves as far over to the right as it can, and then back up. So you're moving your wrist in its full range. It's the most circle you can make without compensating and moving the rest of your arm. So holding onto your forearm pretty strongly so the rest of your arm doesn't move. Good. And then once you've done about 3 circles the one way, switch and go the other way. And my arm is shaking. I'm starting to sweat. So it's hard work, but it shouldn't be, again, painful is not what we're looking for. We want to go right before the pain. One more full circle. Once that's complete, you can give your right arm a little bit of a shake out, and then you're going to switch to your left arm. So hold on to your forearm so the arm doesn't move. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Turn your palm to face you, and then do a rotation with your wrist as best as you can, full range. So this is really good if you work at a desk, or if you do a lot of just anything with your hands, writing, typing, knitting, crafting, sewing, that kind of stuff. So really good to get movement in your joints in every which way, getting the synovial fluid washing around. Switch the direction of your circles, and you want to go full range. So to the point where it's slightly uncomfortable, you might be sweating. This is where change happens though. Nice work. You might be hearing some noises. That's common. Finish the circle that you're on. Whew, and then give your arms a little shake out. Nice job. We're going to get our hips, but we're going to do it standing. So you can come on up. If you've had a blanket underneath your bum, you can kind of just move it out of the way. We're going to be using our wall for just a little bit of support. So using it to help balance a little bit. I'll turn to the side. So you can turn towards whatever side you like. Right hand just resting on the wall. So you've got something to help you with your balance. You're going to take your left hand, just rest it on your left hip, and lean your weight into your right foot. So your left foot is completely off the ground. Now take your your left leg, and externally rotate it, meaning your toes and your knee are going to move outwards away from the midline. And notice what that feels like in your musculature, in your hip. And then you're gonna go the opposite way. So you're gonna internally rotate, your toes and your knee will turn towards the midline. Notice what that feels like in the tissues around your hip. And you're gonna do that a couple of times. So big external as much as you can go to the point where it's like almost uncomfortable. And then you're internally rotating as best as you can, again, to the point where it's slightly uncomfortable. And try to keep this right in the hip. So the femur is moving in your hip socket. Trying not to let any other parts of your body move or compensate for this movement. Nice job. Good. Once you've done about 3, external and internal, bring your leg to neutral. You can always take a break if you feel like you need it as well. Know that. You're going to take your left leg back in space. But before we do that, I'm not going to, that's good. You're going to take your left hand to your low back. So I want your low back to stay nice and neutral. You're going to take the left toes behind you. Extend the leg towards straight. So you're getting hip extension. So your hip flexor here is in an extended position, but try not to arch your back to compensate. You want to get that real sensation of stretch just in the hip rather than into the spine. And then see if you can lift the leg just a little bit up behind you. So everybody's a little bit different. You might be getting a cramp in your hamstring, I am, but full extension as best you can. Hold there just another moment, might be slightly uncomfortable, challenging. Keep breathing. Good, and then you're gonna bring your leg forward in front of you, bend your knee and pull your knee in towards your chest. Don't use your hand, just use the hip flexor to flex your knee in towards your body. Hold there, see if you can get the knee a little higher. Hold there, keep the spine nice and straight, low back nice and long. Hold there, just one more breath. Whew. Nice job. Let the left leg come down, give everything a little shake out. You can turn to face the other way. So you've got now your left hand on the wall. You're gonna do the same thing on the opposite side. So putting your weight into your left foot, left knee is slightly bent. Your right leg is going to start to externally rotate. So you can look at your toes, look at your knee, and you're pointing everything away from the midline. And this is really interesting because one side's probably going to be very different than the other side. And then you're going to do internal rotation and try to keep both of your hips side by side as you do this. So avoid letting your hip open and kind of cheat and close and kind of cheat. You want to keep your pelvis very neutral, and it's just your femur in your hip socket moving from side to side, internally and externally rotating. Nice work. Again, right to your end range, to the point where you're like, I don't know, can I go further? Yes, I can. Okay, go for it. And then back off right before you think it's going to go to the point of discomfort. One more time. Externally rotate the toe, the knee, and the hip are all moving as one, or the toe and the knee are anyways. The hip is trying to stay more neutral. And then internally rotate. Cool. And then once you feel like you've done about 3, you can give your legs a little shake if you need that little break. Go for it. And then the right leg's now going to step back with the toes on the floor. The leg is now in extension. So you're extending through your hip flexor, doing as best you can, trying to keep the low back nice and long. So it's very common to arch the back or, play around with movement of the pelvis to kind of cheat when it comes to hip extension and flexion. So try your best to keep the spine nice and long, the low back nice and long, and it's just the hip that's extending. And then maybe, just maybe, you can lift the leg a little bit more. The toes could hover off the ground. You might be feeling a cramp happening. Again, feel the length of the front of the hip. Hold there just 3 more seconds, 2 more seconds. Try to avoid leaning forward. You're standing nice and tall for 2. For 1, you can take a little break if you need it, or start to pull now your right knee in towards your chest. Without using your hands, you're using your hip flexor, the flexor of your hip to bring your thigh closer towards your chest. Nice job. Keeping that soft bend in your stabilizing leg, your spine nice and long. You're here for 3, for 2, for 1. Nice. Let it go. Give everything a little shake out. Nice work. We're going to be using our strap next, getting into the shoulders a little bit more. Excuse me. Option. You can do this standing or you can do this seated, whatever you like. I'm going to do it from seated just because I feel like viewing wise, you'll be able to see a little bit better. I'm not sure. But you're going to hold on to your strap or your strap-like objects, whatever you've got with you. And we're going to do our shoulder flossing, something that we do from time to time in yoga, but we're going to add on a couple of things with this one. So you want your arms to be a little wider than shoulders distance. You're going to lift the arms up overhead, and then you're going to bring your arms behind you as best you can until you feel tension, tightness, an opening across the chest. And we're just going to do a few little pulses there. Feel free to adjust the length of or the width of your arms if you need them closer together or further apart. Feel free to do that. You want to be feeling that you're getting a good sensation of pull, of stretch, just to the point right before pain at your end range. Good, and then you can start to go all the way down if that's available. So your strap kind of touches the back of your bum, or the bum, not the front of your bum. And then it can come forward. So you're getting a little bit more of a fluid motion. Okay, we're just gonna do this a couple times. We'll give the wrists a break in a second, and then we're gonna add on to this. As you're moving your shoulders, think about keeping your spine really neutral. So your spine is staying just as it is, and it's just your shoulders that are moving. Let's go one more time. You're doing great. Beautiful. And then you can let your strap go for a second. Just give your wrists a little bit of a roll if you need it. Give them a little shake. You can take a sip of water at any time. I'm sweating, so if you're getting warm too, you're not alone. It's tough work. So do what you need to do as you take a little break, and then you're going to grab hold of your strap again. So second time around, same placement. Hands are a little wider than shoulders distance apart. This time, we're going to do more of a circular rotation. So you're going to lift the strap up, leading with one of your hands. So let's start with the left arm. You're going to lift the left arm up. It's going to kind of cross over you. And then you're going to let the other arm follow. And then it's going to be the one that comes forward, and then the other arm's forward. So a little bit of kind of coordination here. Left arm up, right arm forward, left arm forward. Good. Now the intention is to keep the spine really straight. Okay, so think about your spine being glued in the position it's in, and it's just your arms and your shoulders making this movement. Okay, good job. Finish the rotation that you're on, and then start to lead with the opposite arm. So again, a little bit of coordination, mind-body connection. Which way were you going? Start to go the opposite. Really nice. If it feels like it's too much, take the hands further apart. If it feels like it's not your end range and you could go a little bit deeper, walk the hands closer together. Finish about 1 or 2 more of these circles, then give ourselves a quick little break. We're going to add on to this. So as you're ready, you can let your hands release the strap for a second, give them a little shake out if you like. All right. Then the next, lateral side bend. Okay, so you're going to take the arms back up into the air, hold on to the strap, about a little bit wider than shoulders distance. Keep your spine as it is, or sorry, this time we are going to let the spine move a little bit. So you're going to let your arms first move to the right, and then let your ribs on the left side of your body extend. So you get shorter on the right side and longer on the left side, and then come back up. And then first let your arms move over to the left, then move your upper body over to the left. So now the right side of your body is getting longer, the left side of your body is shortening. We're going to do that a little bit more graceful with our movement. So up and then side bend. You're kind of pulling the top strap down, and then up and then side bend, and you're gently pulling the top arm down. One more time. Up, neutral spine, arms lead the way, and then your ribs extend on the left side. Arms lead the way, and then last time over to the left, and let your ribs extend on the right side. Good. Arms come back up, come back to neutral, lose your strap, move it out of the way. Give your hands a little shake, come onto your bum. If you like, you can use a blanket. We're going to be doing extension and flexion of the spine. So I would suggest soles of the feet together, knees wide for this one. But if you are more comfortable sitting more cross-legged or legs out in front of you, whatever works in your body, you do what feels best. Whatever allows you to get a little bit of movement in your pelvis. So first, if it's okay to keep your legs just nice and stable, you can have your hands on your hips for a second and see if you can move your pelvis without moving anything else in your body a lot. Like other things will move a little bit, but can you tilt your pelvis, and it might be like a millimeter. So it's like the top or the front of your pelvis is starting to spill forward, your tailbone's pointing back. And then can you do the opposite, where the top of your pelvis, front of your pelvis scoops in and the back of your pelvis rolls back. So if you think of your pelvis as a bowl, you're gonna tilt forward so the water would spill out of the bowl forward and then roll back so the water would roll backwards. And you might get some weird little sensations in other parts of the body, really common. It's just a good information. How does your pelvis move? Does it move fluidly, or is it really rigid? Does it feel like one side moves easier than the other? It's just information that you're gathering. And then once you feel like you've done about 2, 3, 4 little dips of the pelvis each way, bring your hands now to your knees. We're going to move mostly just the front or the top of our spine. So from the ribs up. So the pelvis now is going to stay really neutral. You're going to inhale, send your chest forward, roll your shoulders back. You can even, with your hands on your knees, give yourself a little traction. So you send your heart a little higher. And then as you exhale, do the opposite, round your upper back. As you inhale, chest forward, shoulders back. Exhale, round the upper back, shoulder blades come apart, protraction. One more time like that, and then we're going to add in the pelvis. Beautiful. On your next inhale, chest reaches forward, shoulders roll back. Now think about your pelvis, tilting it forward so your tailbone points back. Like if it was a bowl of water, the water would spill forward. And then now as you exhale and you round, curl your tailbone under. So if there was water in the bowl of your pelvis, it would pour backwards. Inhale forward with the heart. Exhale, round through the back. One more time, inhale forward. Exhale back. Right, inhale to neutral. If your legs have been in kind of a butterfly pose, give them a little shake, move your legs around, give yourself a little bit of a release. This next little sequence that we're gonna do, we're gonna be up against the wall, okay? So if you've got a blanket or just something, a little extra lift, you can of course stay sitting on it, but you're gonna come all the way to the wall. So your spine is up against the wall. You don't need a ton of wall space, but just enough that you can have your back up against the wall and have a little bit of movement from side to side with the wall, okay? Doesn't need to be, if there's pictures or something on the wall, move them, but for the most part, not a ton of room. So for this first bit, we're gonna work shoulders and then we'll get into hips. So however you wanna sit with your legs is fine. You can have them extended, cross-legged, whatever you want. You're gonna take your arms up and overhead. So the back of your hands are up against your wall. Feel like your whole spine is up against the wall as best as it can be. So the low back, you want to get really connected. So low back, mid back, upper back. Now for some, arms might not even be touching the wall, and that's really common, but do the very best you can to get the backs of your hands, the backs of your shoulders, everything up against the wall, even your low back. So no compensating in the spine here. We're working the shoulders. Then we're going to start to bend the elbows. So we come into cactus arms. So the elbows are going to bend and come in line with the shoulders. Try to keep the back of your forearms up against the wall. Good. And then we're going to lift back up. So the whole time, if your arms are touching the wall, I want you to be pushing into the wall with your arms. If they're not touching the wall, do your very best to get your arms as close to the wall as you can. Try not to cheat. So by cheating would be your spine would be coming off the wall. Try to keep the spine up against the wall. Do your very best. Arms are going to lift up, pushing the backs of your arms into the wall. Coming into your cactus. I'm sweating again. So it's tough work. It seems so simple. One more time. Arms will go up. Everything's nice and straight with the spine. And then coming into cactus, you're gonna pause in your cactus. If you need to take a break, of course, take it, but challenge yourself here. I want you to push the back of your hands so much into the wall that it feels like your elbows could lift away from your wall. You can make a fist to make that easier. So your elbows come away from the wall. Maybe they actually do, maybe they don't, but you're pushing into the back of your hands or your fists. And then you're gonna switch. The elbows are gonna push into the wall. Your fists are gonna come away from the wall. You're gonna do an internal rotation. So you're gonna attempt to bring the palm of the hand or the inner part of your fist up against the wall. And then do your external again. So your palms are gonna face, or your backs of your hands are up against the wall. Push so much into the backs of your hands that maybe your elbows lift away from the wall. I know it's tough. And then elbows come back onto the wall, push into your elbows and turn your hands down. Internal rotation, try to keep your spine up against the wall. My neck is starting to get a little crunchy, so give it a little relaxation if that's happening to you too. One more time, I know, we're almost there. Push into the back of the hands, elbows lift away from the wall. Even if they don't, you imagine they do, and then elbows into the wall, internally rotate as best you can, as best you can, as best you can. And then pause there, take a deep breath in, stay for your breath out. Relax your arms down, give your spine a little bit of movement away from the wall, move your head around a little bit. Good job, that's tough, that was hard. So give yourself a little bit of a rollout, a little bit of a release. Now this next little bit, we're gonna be moving into the hips. So again, your low back is up against the wall. You're as close to the wall as you can be. Take your hands underneath your knees. If you were sitting straight-legged, you're gonna come into, this is called bear seat. So there's a system that I follow, it's called functional range system. And this is where I'm getting a lot of this, these movement patterns from. But this bear seat is like a really great one to work with because there's a lot of different movements that we can play around with from this position. So your knees are bent, your feet are on the floor, your spine is up against the wall. You can have your fingertips on the floor to help if you feel like just having a little bit of support is nice, or you can have your hands kind of more resting in the center, wherever feels best for you. We're gonna do what we do in yoga a lot is like a windshield wiper, but as we do the windshield wiper, try to keep your knees as far away from one another as they are the whole time. So you're gonna let your knees fall, internally rotate, externally rotate, and they're the same distance apart. And then you're gonna bring them back up. And then they're gonna move the other way, still keeping them the same distance away from one another. Now, if you're sitting on something, you're probably gonna be feeling like you're falling off of that something, or if you need to adjust off of it or scooch around at any time, that's totally fine. But do your best to kind of do knees to one side, keep the feet where they are, knees to the other side. And I keep falling away from the wall. So if that's happening to you too, just scoot yourself back every time you feel yourself come forward. Couple more times. When you're doing this, feel that your back is against the wall. And you're just going to your end range, whatever that looks like, whatever that feels like for you. Now, the next time that your knees fall over towards the right side, we're gonna stay with the knees onto the right side and we're gonna face towards the right. So you're gonna kind of turn your body and adjust yourself so your right shoulder is up against the wall. You're facing towards the right side of your room, and your right knee is in a bent position with the shin about in line with the short edge or the long edge of your mat, whatever you're using. And then your opposite leg is in an internal rotation. So biggest thing is we don't want any pain in our knees, our ankles, or our hip joints. So of course, if this exact position doesn't feel sustainable for you, make an adjustment, but to some degree, internal rotation on your left leg, external rotation on your right leg. From here, you're gonna lift your right arm up into the air. So your palm is facing you, or sorry, so your palm is facing away from you, your palm is on the wall. And then do your very best to sweep your right arm, the one that's lifted, behind you. So now you face towards the wall. You face towards the wall. Your hand can slide down the wall if it's available, or it can stay more upright, that's fine, but you're turning your chest towards the wall, getting a twist in the spine. Your elbow can bend if that's available, or the arm can stay straight. We're just going to be here for about 3 breaths. Maybe every breath you're able to find a little bit more of a rotation in your spine. And again, this stuff is uncomfortable, yes, but again, no pain. No pain, no gain is not what we're looking for here. Okay, here we go. You're going to slowly unwind, face back forward. As you face forward, you're going to bring your hands to the floor, just kind of in the hollow space between your legs here. Lean yourself just a little bit back in space. Like if you're more upright, that's fine. But if you can lean yourself just a little bit back in space, do that. And then think about, this is more just like mind body, it might not actually happen. Think about lifting your left leg, your left shin up off of the ground. So it's probably not going to happen, but think about that happening. So what muscles would you use to lift the left shin? So I'm feeling like a lot in my outer hip pocket. These are the stabilizing muscles. So do that a couple of times. Attempt to lift that leg up and then soften it down. So we're strengthening our tissues in an end range way. Go 2 more. If you notice yourself starting to lean forward, try to avoid that. Last time. Woo, okay. Then we're going to play with this front leg. So if you need to lean a little bit forward, I find that to give a little bit more help to this movement. You're going to attempt to think of what muscles would you need to use to lift your right foot up off the ground. And it might not go anywhere. Mine's not lifting at all. So just imagine it was lifting and then relax it. And then imagine it was lifting and then relax it. And then one more time, imagine it was lifting, hold it, and relax it. Whew. We're going to switch sides. So bare seat through the center. You're going to kind of scoot yourself through the middle. And then your knees are going to fall now the opposite way. So they move towards now the left side of your room. If you need a bunch of adjusting, that's totally fine. You want to make sure that your knees are in a happy space. Might be a little bit uncomfortable, but no pain in the joints, okay? Then once you feel like you're in your position, whatever that looks like for you, your left shoulder is up against the wall. You're facing towards the left side of your room. You're going to lift the left arm up with your palm facing the wall. And then slowly start to turn your chest towards the wall. So now your left arm can slide behind you a little bit. It might move only an inch or 2. Maybe it comes in line with your shoulder and you can look behind you at your left hand. Maybe you end up bending your elbow. However you come into this twist or how much rotation you have in your twist, it's your own personal experience. So don't force anything, but do try to find your end range. Whatever that is for you. You're going to hold for about 3 breaths once you find your end range, getting a big twist in the spine, making sure that you're feeling into the sweet spot. Last breath here. Good. Start to lift the left arm back up if it wasn't already. Start to turn so you're facing back towards the left side of your room. And then you can just bring your left hand down. Give your shoulders a little relaxation if you need to, any little bits of movement. And then from here, you're going to, again, either be really upright or even a little bit of a lean back. We just don't want to lean forward because that's going to make this movement, we're going to kind of cheat if we move forward. So nice and upright. Bring all of your attention to your right shin and imagine you could lift your right shin up off the ground. And I'm telling you, it probably will not happen. It won't come anywhere close, But if you could, what would it feel like? What muscles would need to engage? So hold it imaginarily up and then relax it. And then lift the right shin up off of the ground. Imagine it's lifting. And then relax it. And again, you're probably feeling this in your hip and other parts of your body, totally normal. Again, imagine you could lift it up without moving your spine, without shifting your body. You're just imagining you could lift it and then relax. One more time. Imagine you could lift your right shin up off the ground. What muscles are activating? Which tissues are getting stressed? And then relax it. Whew. All right. And then a tiny bit of a lean forward. My hands are just in the hollow space between my legs. Bring all of your attention now to your left shin. And imagine you could lift your left shin up off the ground. Whew, you can even feel it in your core probably. And then relax it. And then do it again. Lift it up. Imagine you're lifting it. And then relax it. 2 more times. It's tough work. Imagine you're lifting it. And then relax it. 1 more time. You gotta have a little humor with this because it's tough. And then relax it. Okay. Back to face the center. You're gonna scoot your way back into your bear pose. Really nice job. As you come into your bear pose, you're gonna extend now your legs out towards straight. So they're coming into kind of a V shape. And then do a few points of your toes and flexes of your toes. Nice. Try to get yourself really scooched up to the back or to the wall if you're not already. And do a little bit more with our hip flexors. You're gonna slide your legs forward. I like having fingertips on the floor. And then for this one, it's very, I wanna say helpful maybe to kind of try to move the spine around. So try to keep your spine nice and upright. This is, again, you're just attempting. So if you don't get any lift or any big movements, that's okay. It's not about big, very obvious movements. It's about mind-body connection. What do you feel? Okay, so we're gonna lift the right leg up, do an internal rotation, external rotation, back to neutral, lower the leg down, okay? So here we go. You're gonna lift the right leg up, internally rotate the leg, externally rotate the leg, back to neutral, lower it down. Left leg. Lift the left leg, internally rotate, externally rotate, keep it lifted, neutral, lower it back down. Give your legs a little shake. We're gonna do it again. Here we go. Right leg up, internal, external, neutral, lower. Left leg, lift, internal, external, neutral, lower. Give it a little shake, shake, shake. Option for you. Last set, you can do the same thing we just did, one leg at a time, or if you want to, attempt both legs at the same time. It's really hard. Both legs up, internal, external, neutral, down. So you choose for yourself. I'm gonna attempt to do both at the same time. So here we go. I'm gonna lift. They might not go very high. Internal, external, neutral, and drop. If you're finishing up that second side, finish it up. Give the legs a little shaky shake. We're gonna be coming onto our back next. So you can kind of scoot yourself away from the wall. Come onto your spine. Most of the hard stuff is all over now. This is all just like relaxation from here on out. Because what we just did is we put our bodies into kind of a stressful situation. I don't know about you guys, but might have felt kind of challenging or hard on the body. So now we're gonna just even things out and bring a little bit more peace into the body. So you can gather your knees in towards your chest, give yourself a little squeeze. You might like to rock a little bit, just any nourishing movements for your body. Some deeper breaths. Beautiful. You can land your feet down onto the ground. Reach for your blanket, or if you've got a block hand, you can use a block. You're gonna land it underneath your low back, and we're just gonna come into an internal rotation with the legs. So just a little bit of a lengthening for the low back and a little bit more space for the sacrum. So the blanket or whatever you've got underneath your sacrum with your knees touching each other and your feet a little further away from one another. Rest your hands down on your belly if you like, or one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart. And close down the eyes. And take a few slow, deep breaths here. And then you can stay with the support underneath your low back if you like, or you can move it out of the way. If you move it out of the way, it might feel nice to take a big full body stretch. We'll be moving into Shavasana, a little meditation in a few moments. So if there's any movements, sips of water, socks, sweater that you like to put on, feel free to do all of those things. Get yourself situated. So the interesting thing about our muscles, I mean, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, but our muscles have two kind of parts to the muscle. There's the part of the muscle that's elastic. So it stretches and then it goes back, and it stretches and it goes back. And then there's the part of the muscle that has viscosity, meaning like if you took a plastic bag and you stretched that plastic bag, not to the point where a hole got into it, but you stretch the plastic bag and you let go of the plastic bag. Now that plastic bag has stretched and it stays in that position. That's viscosity. So our muscles and our bones and our tissues are always going to go back to what the position we're in the most. So if your hip flexors are very tight, that's because the majority of the time we're sitting, or even when we're running or walking, our hips are flexed, they're flexed, they're flexed. So they're always going to go back to that position. If we sit a lot and our shoulders round forward and we're on our desks or texting, our upper back will round and our core will disengage. So it's very, just nice to remember that, so that when we do our yoga practice or our mobility training, that we're trying to change the tissues in our body so that we don't end up getting stuck in those really rigid, kind of robotic movements. So once you find your way into your variation of Shavasana, it's just a short and sweet one today. I'll invite you to soften the skin around the eyes. And then bring attention to the sensation of breath as it comes into and moves out of your nose. Just follow the path of the breath, the sensation of the breath as it comes in, and the feel of the breath as it rolls out. Slide your attention to your chest. And when the breath comes in, feel the chest rise, expand. And then feel as the breath leaves, the chest softens and sinks down. And as you now bring your attention down into your ribs, the front of your ribs, back and sides of your ribs. Notice that when you inhale, your ribs move away from the midline. And as you exhale, the ribs gently come back together. Let your attention drop down now into your belly. When you breathe in, notice the natural expansion of your belly and the natural softening of the belly as the breath rolls out. Then feel the whole body as one moving wave. So as you inhale, it's like the whole body expands. And as you exhale, the whole body softens. And the breath ebbing and flowing. And the body rising and falling. And slowly bring a deeper breath in. Maybe let an open mouth exhale. And then slowly bring movement back into your body. A little wiggle of your fingers and your toes, sending gratitude to each part of your body. You know, these practices can be really frustrating. I find mobility training can be really, it's arduous and it's difficult, and it's not like a lot of yoga practices where we leave and we just feel so, yoga zen out. And just having this gratitude for the body for what it is capable of, and just honoring the limitations that it has in this moment. Being okay with where it's at as it is. You can take your time to roll onto one side and then slowly find your way up onto your seat. If you're at home and you want to stay longer in Shavasana, though, of course you can do that. If you're at work, I feel like you have to get up, so take your time. And we'll close our practice just with another conscious breath together. So once you find your seat, turn your palms to face up on your thighs. And then on an inhale, start to reach your arms up towards the sky, big stretch. The hands find each other overhead. And then as you exhale, let your hands come together at your heart. Give yourself a little round of applause. Yay. Good job. Mobility training and end range stuff is really challenging. So thanks for doing this with me. Thanks for being creative with your props. If you didn't have everything that I had. So I'm really grateful that you were here.